really excited to share this new two-step crackle process with you guys. You'll want to watch this video through because I'm going to be showing you side by side two different types of two-step crackle by Pentart. I'll be showing you the classic two-step crackle. Gives you the look of old crackled varnish that you find on antique furniture. I'll also be sharing the Pentart fine line crackle medium. It's going to give you a beautiful, glossy, porcelain-like finish with ultra-fine lines that are spaced further apart.
I started by prepping each of my pieces with 2 to 3 coats of paint, lightly sanding in between coats. You'll want a clean, smooth, dry finish to start. You can apply the two-step crackle over decoupage or over transfers. I decided to use IOD Transfers. Once my transfers were adhered, I gave them a coat of clear polyacrylic sealer and then let that coat completely dry. I'm going to be working with both crackle mediums side by side. With a soft, dry brush, brush over the surface of your project with component 1. The end result of the size of the crackle could vary depending on how thickly you layer on component number 1. Temperature and humidity can also impact the outcome. I always recommend doing some practice boards anytime that you're using a new medium. The components are not interchangeable between the Crackle Classic and the fine line crackle, so you definitely don't want to interchange them. Apply an even layer of component number 1, brushing on a smooth layer before component number 1 becomes tacky. You can see that this layer has a milky, opaque consistency. You want to let this completely dry without touching it until it becomes transparent. Now it's time to add component number 2. With a dry brush, apply an even layer of component 2 over your dried component number 1. Component 2 of the fine line crackle medium has an amber color. Again, apply a thin, even coat over component number 1 with a soft, dry brush. You'll notice that component 2 of the fine line crackle medium has a very glossy finish. Set your piece aside to dry for several hours undisturbed. You can also use a hairdryer to speed up the drying. It's just very important not to touch the surface while it's drying. The classic crackle finish and the fine line crackle finish have very different appearances once they've dried. You can always use a warm hairdryer at this point to force even more crackling. Now we can explore all the different ways to finish our projects and fill in those cracks so that they really stand out. You can use powder pigments or waxes to emphasize the details in the crackle finish. I've even used old powdered eyeshadows, or a combination of pigments and waxes. With a soft brush, I'm dipping into my powdered pigment. In this case, I'm using Debi's DIY Dark and Decrepit Dust. And brush it into the surface of your project and into those cracks. Here I'm using a contrast color with one of the Debi's DIY making powders. Once you have worked that pigment down into the cracks, go ahead and buff off the excess with a soft cloth. You can also use paste waxes to get some very cool aged effects and work down into those cracks as well. In order to finish and seal your fine line crackle, you'll need to use a solvent-based spray varnish or a solvent-based wax. The classic crackle process actually dries to a waterproof finish. I'm going to add waxes just to emphasize the crackle effect and to add an aged finish. Wipe away any excess wax with a soft cloth. There's no additional finish required for the classic crackle system. There you have it, 2 completely different finishes from 2 different two-step crackle systems.
Be sure to watch my next Pentart Crackle demonstration video where I show you how to use the one-step crackle medium with paint.
You can find all of the products that I used in this video at ellenjgoods.com or at our brick and mortar store in Medina, New York. Don't forget to subscribe and get notifications so that you don't miss one project that we do here at Ellen J Goods.
You're beautiful. A beautiful, glossy.
I'm gonna go to the bathroom. Give me some time to